Ralph is back. Let's talk playoffs, all on this edition of PHNX Sun Devils. Happy Thursday, as the good old Anthony Totri would put it. Welcome into PHNX Sun Devil Show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by none other than Circle K. Head to any Circle K Arizona location where you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents now through September 3rd. I am not Anthony Totri, much to everyone's chagrin. I am merely Erik Ruby, but I'm joined due to popular demand. The people were breaking down my door, saying no hurricane can stop our desire for Ralph Amsden back in the flesh, virtually, however. Ralph, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. I just witnessed 6 inches of rain in 12 hours.
Wow.
That's a new thing. Shout out to Hurricane Debbie. But we got internet, so we're good to go.
You look crystal clear. I'm very happy. Everything looks intact behind you. You know, you don't have tattered walls. It looks like your ceiling's intact as well. So very happy that that's happening.
It's okay in this room, but just outside the door, I saw a gold Scion, like not the cube car, but the little ones. Mm-hmm. I saw it go into the runoff and float away. Just outside my neighborhood earlier today. And so watching a gold Scion float was kind of a wake-up call that, you know, we might need to get some emergency measures in place. I think we'll be fine, though.
Okay, well, everybody make sure you leave a like so we can start a relief fund for Ralph in case Hurricane Debbie, which, by the way, we talked about this before yesterday's show. They need to do better at naming hurricanes, right? Absolutely. Because it's like, what ruined your house? What took away your car? What made your car float down the road? It was Debbie. Come on.
For sure. And like with the amount of snack cakes I've eaten in my life, this one better leave me alone.
Yeah, you know, maybe that's the good karma. Maybe that's why your car didn't get floated away. Sharon in the chat says, hope you and your family and friends are safe with no damage, of course. And Emily in the chat says, go Devils. Of course, guys, remember to leave a like. Make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports. And one of the topics we're going to be getting into today, besides our snake draft, which we're looking forward to getting into at the end, is the playoffs. Now, this is not a year you're going in and saying we expect ASU to be in the newly expanded college football playoffs. But there are a lot of Big 12 teams that are either on the bubble or could be solidly put in there. So I'm going to ask you for your one team, Ralph, that you feel like is as close to a lock or is a lock to make the college football playoffs from the Big 12.
Oh, it hurts to see. You're going to make me say this, but
oh, no.
It's the Utes, buddy.
Okay, your second one. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. The Utes, it's a good pick. I actually thought you were going to go somewhere else even worse. But no, we're good with the Utes.
Yeah, look, we've just, I know the entire Big 12 doesn't want to hear that. I know they hate Utah. I know they were pissed that Utah was the only team that didn't have like a tweet prepared, excited about going to the Big 12. I know that Utah's already planning to leave the Big 12. But at the same time, they are currently constructed to be the cream of the crop, and it's hard to envision anybody overtaking. If somebody does, I'd be very impressed.
Yeah, and Utah, we've always talked about it on this show, especially with Kyle Whittingham, kind of being a model for what Kenny's trying to do here at ASU, which is build long, sustained success through your program, just consistent highs, and you never really get too low. They're the safest bet. Right. And they also have the Cam Rising X factor as well, to where is he going to come back and reach new heights in his like 15th season in college football? You know, you might be able to see a very exciting Utah offense. But of course, they make their bread with defense as well. It really is the most, I think, sound, complete, top to bottom team in the Big 12, and all the other stuff where it's, you know, people aren't happy about them not maybe being too excited to join the Big 12 or what are you going to do after this year. Like at the end of the day, I think this is the last ride for Whittingham, right? I think they've come out and said this is his last season, or at least
they named Morgan They, for the second time in 5 years, named Morgan Scalley the coach in waiting.
Right. I know they named him.
Yeah, last time they named him the coach in waiting, it didn't go so well for Morgan. Apparently, he had some skeletons in his closet, but he has cleaned that closet out. He is good to go, and I think that they're very comfortable moving forward with him taking over the program.
Yeah, and I think that kind of sends almost a message to the team as well, where you're going to want to kind of band together and do it for what is a legend in the college football game in Kyle Whittingham. And I think that with Utah, and like Sharon says, like, we can live with the Utes, Ralph. It's the other one. And I really did think that you were going to go with that school. And maybe we'll get to that school later. But let's talk returning Big 12 teams. Because I think there's one really, really interesting team that a lot of people are talking about, and then there's another one in the same state that I feel like people are maybe underrating as college football playoff contenders. And I'm talking about Kansas and Kansas State. Now,
okay,
you gave me a look. Which one of those schools got that look from you, Ralph?
Well, I like K-State. I'm a Chris Kleiman guy. Anybody who came out of that North Dakota State coaching tree, I think the absolute world of, but their quarterback bailed on them.
Yeah.
And we've been in that boat too, so I'm not going to laugh at them.
It happens.
But I think Kansas State with Will Howard, yeah, that might have been the name I threw out instead of Utah. I love what they're building out there. But, to be in a position where you got to have to figure out quarterback, I think that's the one position you kind of have to have some confidence in going into a season. But the other team you mentioned has two of them. They have two quarterbacks that they absolutely know can ball out. It's just a matter of where whether they have depth everywhere else. But I do think you're right. I think Kansas and Kansas State, the top half of the conference probably guaranteed. And could they be two of the top four teams for the first time ever? It's very possible.
Yeah, it's amazing to see where both of those programs have come over the years as well. And with Kansas State, like you said, with their quarterback, like Avery Johnson is an unknown, but at the same time, you could see a big leap in some growth from a young quarterback in that position. And if he does have it all figured out, then that piece just gets fit right into the puzzle. And you're looking at a team that was really, really good last year and looks to be really competitive this year. But talking about Kansas, talking about Jalon Daniels as well, I know that he's dealing with his back problem and stuff and injuries from last year. But if he comes in healthy, he could be one of the most explosive quarterbacks and one of the best quarterbacks in this conference as well, let alone just a really, really solid all-around Kansas team. Now, I mean, there's more teams in the college football playoff this year, and I don't really see either of these teams as one of like the top four teams in the nation, but I think both of them, Kansas more so than Kansas State, could be slotted in near the end of the college football playoffs. And I think once you get into that way, like I think they'll be a really tough out.
They absolutely could be. It's a fascinating conference because you have probably four teams in this conference whose floor is down where the dinosaurs and crude oil live.
Yeah,
like you have four teams in this conference that have sucked worse than almost any Power 5 school in the country for significant periods of time. That's Baylor, Arizona, Colorado, and Kansas.
Yeah,
like all time terrible stretches, right? And you also have teams that have just been like just so stuck in mediocrity that you don't ever know if they're going to rise above it. Iowa State has thrown out some of their best seasons, and get this, I'm going to say something. I believe it to be true. I really believe it, so it must be true. I don't think Iowa State's ever had a double-digit win season in their history. Going back over 100 years, I don't think they have. And here's
I'm
another
looking that up right now, but at least as we all know, Google is not my strong suit. So I'm looking that up.
There's also a team in the Big 12 that has a truckload of NIL money. Arizona State fans know this because they've spent it to take some of our basketball and football players away in recent years, and that's Texas Tech. You think about Texas Tech, you think about Patrick Mahomes, and you think about, they must have had all this success. They haven't had a 9+ win season in 16 years. They suck. Like they're like as a football school, they're a basketball school. Texas Tech has traditionally Darvin Ham, like that. You think back to all these great players that have gone through Texas Tech basketball. The truth is their football team, double-digit wins has never been on the menu for them either. So you get Oklahoma and Texas up out of this conference, maybe some of the mid teams rise, but I really worry about these teams whose bottoms have been like, I mean, last year was Arizona State's worst year that I can remember. And again, 10, 15 points away from being 6-6.
Right.
We're talking about the bottom. We're talking about losing 20 straight, going down to 45 scholarship players like Kansas did. Some of these teams have the ability for everything to fall apart. And which is one of the reasons why I'm happy that Arizona State moved into this conference, because I think they're going to snack on a few of these teams eventually.
Yeah.
But Texas Tech is, if one team is finally going to graduate from mediocrity with their NIL that they have, Joey McGuire being an awesome coach. I know that the writers picked Texas Tech to finish 9th, I believe. Give me an outside. If you could put money on them to finish first, I think it'd be worth to throw $20 on them just in case.
Interesting. I don't know if I've heard anybody have that take so far about Texas Tech. And I think you have a really interesting point about having a lot of bottom feeders, but I think what's almost equally as interesting right now is that a couple of those bottom feeders, some people consider some of the best teams in the conference at this second. Obviously, we talk about Kansas, but then two other ones that you mentioned in Arizona and Colorado, I think they're in a little bit different spots, and they both have fan bases that pump them up maybe a little bit too much for what's going on. But if you are to believe the Deion hype, which I feel like the hairs on the back of Totre's neck are just standing up right now, because I'm saying if you were to believe in the Deion hype and that Colorado got better this year and that they're going to put it all together, or if you believe Arizona fans who think that losing Jedd Fisch, losing some of their talent but retaining their top talent will either equal a similar or better season from last year, then you're looking at least one team in Arizona who should be competing for the college football playoffs, and then Colorado who could be a wild card for that. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, when it comes to Arizona football specifically, do you feel like they're going to be able to match or do better than last year from as unbiased of a perspective as you can give?
Not last year. They were great last year. Here's the deal. There's a lot of poor people in this country who win the lottery and become future poor people. Like, they got money in their pocket for a minute. Arizona's on a hot streak right now, and because of it, they lost their coach. Because of it, they lost their all-world running back. Because of it, they're in a situation where Jedd Fisch is out there probably trying to pull more players away. Raymond Polito not playing this year. They've got Noah Fafita, who is awesome. They have quite possibly one of the top 3 receivers in the country, maybe the best in T-Mac. But outside of that, this is a team that really is going to have to prove itself all over again, and they're going to have to do it with an entirely new coaching staff. And I love Brent Brennan. I think he is like the Mr. Rogers of the Big 12. He's a guy that just makes you feel good. He's a guy you want to play hard for. But I watched him very closely at San Jose State as a Mountain West fan.
Mm-hmm.
They had that one good year that they put together, and it took 3 years of building to get there. And Arizona just got off a 3-year build. Is Brent Brennan a maintainer of success? We don't know that about him yet. So the idea that you could just pencil them in when regression to the mean is a very real thing for everybody. As an Arizona State fan, we know this, that, you could have a couple of good years, but if historically you're a certain thing, you might end up being that thing. The thing that Arizona has going for it beyond next year is access to California, which not a lot of these Big 12 schools have. I think it's going to be the biggest city in the Big 12. And they have a lot of excitement and resources, even if some of them are hate driven, just trying to prove Jedd Fisch wrong. Getting some of those resources into the football program, that's only going to do good things. So I think it's possible for Arizona to stay out of the basement. But if I've never seen something before, what is my expectation that somebody who never managed their money well, but they win $2 million is going to turn that into $4 million? No, that's not my expectation. Could they prove me wrong? Sure. but they couldn't turn $10 into 20 before that. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how they handle this transition.
Yeah, and I do believe that you can look at positives for them. And listen, I hate them, right? Let's just get that out of the way as I say a couple positives. I hate them. They brought back some of the best players in the conference, right? Like that is a fact. They have a lot of talent on that team, but I do think that they are underrating just not even just Jed Fish himself as a coach, as a person, as a recruiter, whatever. And I know they're really mad at him for how he left, but I think that lack of continuity is being kind of underrated as a detrimental factor towards carrying over their success towards the next year. Because Brett and Brennan might be great and all, but how often do you see a new coach, a new person come in, and it takes a while for them to get their system going, maybe to get their guys in, maybe to get the coaching staff that they truly want, right? And you're right. They had a great season last year, their best season in a very, very, very long time. And now you're moving to a new conference. You're playing new opponents. You have a new head coach. You do have some new talent in there as well. And all of this at the same time, your fan base has massively high expectations. If you talk to Arizona fans, they talk about it is a college football playoff or bust type of season. And on top of that, the talent that you did retain, like a guy like Teteroa McMillan, he won't be around next year. You're looking at a team with a massive downgrade in talent after this season, thus adding on to that pressure for Arizona. So I agree with you to where I don't believe that they should be slotted in as some college football playoff like lock, right? But if I was a fan of theirs, or if I was on the coaching staff, or if I was a player, I would feel a massive amount of pressure to perform at that level. And I just don't think they can. And another team that I personally am not the biggest believer in are the Colorado Buffaloes. I understand if I was put into Buff fans' shoes why I would be drinking the Deion Kool-Aid. I understand that they have tried and possibly have shored up their offensive line, which was just downright abysmal last season. And I understand that they have two of the best players in the country in Travis Hunter and in Jalon Sanders as well. But keeping all of that in mind, I still do not believe that a team who performed like they did last year is going to come in and immediately become one of the best teams, not only in the Big 12, but all of college football.
Yeah. I work with a man named George Reister, have a show called College Football Apostles. He says this all the time: a man's strengths flow from the same place as his weaknesses. I believe that Colorado is going to be a contender because of Deion Sanders. I believe that Colorado is going to trip over their own feet and fail spectacularly because of Deion Sanders. And it doesn't have anything to do with the level of talent, which they've raised tremendously. It doesn't have anything to do with the quarterback, which I believe is probably going to be the best quarterback in the conference. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they have the best player in the conference by far in Travis Hunter. It has to do with the fact that they do stuff like hire Sean Lewis, which everybody lauded as the best hire in the country last year. And then fire him mid-season, like blame what's going on him and take away play calling duties. And people knew, like real college football minds, they knew that Sean Lewis wasn't the problem. And he was. How many people get fired mid-season and then get a head coaching job? Very few. Yeah. Sean Lewis is the head coach of San Diego State now. Do you think that they think he was the problem at Colorado? No. So every good thing that's happening for Colorado right now is related to the Sanders family, and every mistake I think that's going to be made down the stretch by this team is going to be related to the Sanders family. You just have to decide what level of gratitude, what level of frustration you're going to have when that finally does go down. Because what is this team if Jalon Sanders' habit of holding onto the ball gets him hurt?
Yeah.
Do they have a backup quarterback right now that they have confidence in? Travis Hunter plays so much. We saw what happened last year with Travis Hunter. They got that same team again, Colorado State. That's a physical team. They got to line it back up against it. What happens if Travis Hunter misses 2-3 weeks because of that game a second time? So I would temper expectations on Colorado. I think they're going to be the most exciting team in the conference, I'm not going to miss a Colorado game. I don't think anybody else should either. It's good TV, even if you're hate watching. But the idea of them going to TCU and beating them a second year in a row, the idea that Nebraska hasn't been thinking about them for 345 days straight. And I think that game's in Lincoln. Jay Norvell stays up at night, I think, just staring, like just whittling a piece of wood, like making a little Deion Sanders voodoo doll. So, they have so many people gunning for them. The fact that they'd run the table or even be a college football playoff team, that would shock me, genuinely shock me.
Yeah. I'm the same way, and I think Sharon, one of our diehards, wraps it up very well in one of her chats. She says, I think both that Colorado got more talent and also that they will implode upon themselves in fantastically chaotic fashion. And I really like what you were saying about the strengths and the weaknesses flow from the same place, and that Deion's going to be the reason why they succeeded. It was even the reason last year, right? Deion's the reason why people actually give a crap about Colorado football. Right? You're talking about a program that was the worst in the country and now has these expectations. And of course, they did not meet those expectations last year. And the wins that they did get are, you look back on them in real time and you gave a lot more credit to them when they won versus at the end of the season when you saw what those teams became. So you're going into, again, new conference, new opponents, and an underrated factor about all of this is locker room chemistry and locker room vibes. And you can believe whatever you want to believe when it comes to reporting out of Colorado. I know our DNVR Buff show is currently beefing with some reporters who are saying some things that they say are untrue. I understand that and I get it. And maybe that specifically is not true. But where there is smoke, there is fire, and you hear countless stories coming from that camp, coming from that program, that would maybe lead you to believe that if shit hits the fan a little bit at the beginning of a season, that it could just pile up. Maybe they're not going to be in a mental state to overcome the same type of adversity that maybe they would if we're doing great and we're playing really well, and then you hit a speed bump and you have that goodwill with your locker room and you have that chemistry. And so I think wrapping all of that into one, like you said, I would be floored if they end up a college football playoff contender. But of course, the Buffs fans would wildly disagree with that statement, in the same way that I would be shocked if Arizona was a surefire lock for the college football playoffs as well, but their fans are completely feeling the opposite way as well.
Well, Buffs fans, if you had told them 2 years ago, you have the opportunity to potentially win 7-8 games a year and also have the most spectacular public nuclear meltdown at the end of every season, they absolutely would have taken that.
Yeah.
The Carl Durrell years, most of Mike McIntyre's tenure. By the way, Colorado, don't beat us. Don't beat us. You beat us with Mike McIntyre, and then what happened? You lost out the entire season, and he had to get fired. What happened when you beat us last year? Did you lose 7 straight? I think you did. So maybe just let us win one, and then you'll be fine the rest of the season. Historically, I think that proves out.
It's a good move.
But no, I think that Colorado fans are happy with the state of the program, even if it is a big mess where they actually are in bowl contentions. Deion fans are a completely different thing.
That's fair.
They're college football's version of LeBron stands, and it's been very, very interesting and wild to watch the two mix and form this like hybrid monster that exists on the internet. But Colorado fans are cool with me. I don't have an issue with any of them. They're caught up in all this hype. It's everybody else that has involved themselves in that program that makes it insufferable, and they're probably the people that are in Anthony Totre's mentions.
Yeah, and not just his mentions, but his DMs, and sometimes in the stream as well. And then usually the loudest voices among many. Now, we've talked about a lot of teams. We're going to get to maybe a couple more that we have our eye on. But first, I want to tell you about one of our newest partners, and quite frankly, one that I was so excited when it was announced. We are partnering with Sanderson Ford. And if you live in the Valley, or if you've been in the Valley for over, 3 to 4 hours, you know who Sanderson Ford is. We are absolutely proud to be their partners. And the other day we went out to their 65-acre facility, which is a lot of acres out there. And we were meeting some of the people at Sanderson Ford. We were able to go eat at their cafe as well, which has good food for really good, cheap prices as well. I mean, I'm talking, you can get a full meal for under $15. We're talking full on burger, fries, a shake, everything like that. truly really good value over there. But it's not just the food. It's not just the acres. It's the cars. They thrive on a no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach. They're family operated and owned through 3 generations, and they want to be here for you as the Diamondbacks push for the playoffs. I know the Diamondbacks are leaving a lot of fans satisfied right now. Sanderson Ford is actually America's most awarded Ford dealership for customer satisfaction, and they sell more Fords than anyone in the nation. But at the same time, while the Diamondbacks are pushing for the playoffs, you get the payoffs like deals on a 24 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend, just ranked the highest in quality in its segment by J.D. Power. Plus 0% financing for 36 months with no payments for 90 days on a Ford F-150, Escape, Edge, Explorer, and Expedition. Listen, let me wrap it up for you. The Sanderson Ford Summer Sales event is here, and they're teaming up with the Boys of Summer for a final playoff payoff sale. Purchase or lease any new Ford and get Ford tickets for your family to see the D-backs push for the playoffs. And again, 0% for 36 months for Ford credit. See dealers for detail. You want to go check out Sanderson Ford. You also want to check out our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. Ralph, I don't know if you know this, but I am a 3rd-generation Desert Financial Credit Union user.
Eric, I don't know if you know this, but I used to clean a Desert Financial Credit Union as a janitor.
Well, there we go. We are just connecting on all sorts of different levels here. Back when Desert Financial Credit Union was Desert Schools, when my grandparents moved out here, when my dad was just a little baby, my mom and my grandma signed up for Desert Schools as one of their earliest customers. Her account started with a 1. I'm not saying the rest of it, but it started with a 1. So it's basically in my blood. They've been taking care of my family for generations. Only place that I've kept my money, but it's not just there for your checkings and savings accounts. They have mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more, plus a fantastic team to serve you with a smile on their face and locations all around the valley. And if that wasn't good enough, Ralph, what if I just said, hey, let me just give you $200? Does that sound nice?
It does sound nice.
Yeah,
It sounds fantastic.
I don't know many places where you keep your money that actually give you money, but Desert Financial Credit Union is that place right now. If you open up a free checking account online, you can get $200 slid right in there. Plus, you can spend it with your choice of one of 3 different Arizona State University Visa debit cards. All you have to do is go to desertfinancial.com/ASU to open up that free checking account online and to get started. All right, Ralph, we've talked Utah. We've talked Kansas. We've talked Kansas State. We've talked Arizona. We have talked Colorado. Am I missing anybody that you feel like maybe we're sleeping on as a college football playoff contender?
Well, there is a team in this conference that did go to the college football playoff 2 years ago and lost by about 3,000 points.
I think it was 3,007. I think.
Look, if you're a believer in the air raid, which works sometimes, and I'm a big Sonny Dykes fan. Could they pull it off again? I don't know. That was early transfer portal, and the way they were able to bounce back from being a 4-win team to go to the college football playoff actually really kind of set the model for what you can do to turn around a team. I feel like Washington followed that model. I feel like Arizona State is trying to do that right now. They got a couple of players that I really, really like on that team. They happen to be on the offensive line. How many teams can you say that about? Mm-hmm. So, it's possible. I mean, this is a team that has how many teams in the state of Texas? At least 3, right? So, and Texas is supposed to be, high school, college, professional football central, for the Big 12 to lose Texas and Oklahoma, and for a team to not come from that region. I think those are probably the 2 teams that you do need to look at the most. The one who won the Big 12 last year, we faced them. They have Ollie Gordon. Apparently you don't get suspended for DUIs anymore. And then you have Texas Christian, who played in the college football playoff 2 years ago. It's probably a mistake to leave those 2 out of it. And then I know that UCF fans are going to say, hey, what about us? We won a national championship with Scott Frost as coach. Wink, wink. And I think it's so wide open, and that's what makes it fun. There's really only one team that I'm looking at this year, and I say no, not in 2024. They're not going to be the one to make a run. And I think that's Cincinnati. I don't think
no
Scott
chance.
Satterfield. Yeah, he's not. I don't know. They got some transfers, right? They got Brendan Sorsby, Joe Royer, Evan Pryor. They're not like if those guys don't come in and become stars immediately, then they're going to be very bad.
Yeah.
So they're the one team. It's easier for me to point to a team and say like that one won't be than anything else. But everybody else, I mean, there's a legitimate shot for everybody else, including BYU, which is insane to me. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's so wide open. It's so fun. And and then do you remember how good Tulane was last year?
Mm-hmm.
Houston hired Willie Fritz.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a year one deal, but if he's able to kind of, because he did with Tulane what Jed Fish was doing down at Arizona, if he's able to build up Houston, they've been a threat.
Yeah.
You know, when they had Tom Herman, when they had Kevin Sumlin, they've been able to do some exciting things, and the athletes in that area are insane. But they've just never really been able to put it together. So the conference is so wide open that I really believe outside of Cincinnati, and oh God, if they win this conference, please don't.
No, I'm sorry. There's no chance. I think there's a group of teams that I would pretty confidently put at around a 0% chance that they make the college football playoffs. And that would be
And
Baylor.
It's weird that one of them is somebody who made the college football playoff.
I would say TCU is just edging in that tier above. I think that here are the teams that I think they have no chance of making college football playoffs at all. Zero. Baylor, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, unfortunately Arizona State. And I think TCU, it can be included in that, but if you want to give them a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt, like you said, because of 2 years ago, I'm willing to do that as well. And then in the next group of teams, I have like Colorado, Texas Tech, UCF. Here's just two schools that we have not mentioned and that you did not bring up there, but Clint does.
Yeah.
Iowa State and West Virginia. Now,
right.
Iowa State more so than West Virginia because West Virginia had a very weird season last year. Very weird. They overachieved by an absolute mile. And a lot of times when teams do that, it's hard to sustain that success. And it's harder to look at West Virginia despite their returning talent and see a road to massively improving on what I believe was a 9-win season and a bowl game as well for West Virginia. Right. Iowa State, however, listen, I'm all in on Rocco. I am all in on Rocco Becht. And I do believe that Iowa State, I would put in that same category as an Oklahoma State and maybe even as an Arizona, as a team that if everything clicks and everything goes right, I would not be shocked if they end up maybe in the back end of the college football playoffs.
If Iowa State makes the college football playoff, they have to wear the naked pants. They have to. Please tell me you've seen this.
I have not seen it, but it sounds hilarious. Let me look it up. I'm going to look up something I don't know if I want to look up.
Yeah, good luck with any firewalls or anything that you have set up. But Iowa State naked pants, one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
Oh,
they broke those bad boys out there last year, and might be one of the biggest uniform mistakes of all time.
How did I not see this? How did I not? It's kind of, you know what? I think it's kind of intimidating, right? You're lining up and you're so distracted, right? You're like, wait, what's going on? Why can't I see his thighs? And then boom, Rocco throws one right over the middle for a 50-yard touchdown.
I'm sorry, coach. I was distracted. I thought they all had their junk out.
Good excuse. Honestly, good excuse. No, if you know what? I agree. I think we have to start a petition. If for some way everything goes right and they put themselves right into the college football playoffs, you got to make an exception. You've got to wear the naked pants. Okay, that has to happen.
And you brought up West Virginia, and they had a 9-win season. Back-to-back 9-win seasons seems, maybe not since the Rich Rod days, when they just fell short of going to the Natty when they had Pat White or whatever. And Noel Devine and just Steve Slate, they used to be awesome. They were so much fun to watch back then. They're led by Garrett Green. He's probably the easiest guy that's not a Sun Devil in this conference to root for, because if you're going to root for a short king quarterback and you're an Arizona State fan, it's not going to be Noah Fafita.
No,
right? You can't there might be a few Arizona State fans out there that are like co-ASU Arizona fans, but not many. So you're not going to root for Noah Fafita. If you are gonna, if you are gonna look at somebody who's maybe closer to our height and say that's our hero, that's our king, it's going to be Garrett Green at West Virginia. He's going to be your guy. They got Nico Marchiol backing him up too, and he's a Hamilton High School product out of Arizona. They could be a really, really fun team this year.
Mm-hmm.
They did steal some wins last year, and it's very possible they do it again this year. That could be a decent sleeper.
Yeah, I could see if everything goes right. I think there's a couple of teams ahead of them that I do believe will confidently be better. William Jasper says this is a conversation that's strange to wander in halfway. Yeah, I would say that maybe is one that needs a little bit of context. If you missed it, we're talking about potential teams from the Big 12 that could make it to the college football playoffs. We're going to wrap this up here. We're going to get into a very fun snake draft as well. But the first team that we brought up was Utah. Ralph and I both agree that is the most likely team in the Big 12 to make that postseason run in the college football playoffs. Then we disagree a little bit on the order, but the other teams that we have in there are Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Arizona, Iowa State, and we'll throw West Virginia in there. I think beyond that, you're talking about teams that would have to see a little bit too much go right for that to work out. And that includes your Colorados, that includes your UCFs, and even your Texas Techs as well. But who do you guys think is the most likely team to make the college football playoffs? Are we missing a team? I know Colorado fans are going to say Colorado's the most likely team. I know Arizona fans are going to say that we're stupid. I get all of that. As long as you're hitting that like button and you're subscribing to PHNX Sports, I don't care what you say. I appreciate what you say, but if you don't agree, let us know down in the comments below. But I have to make a second apology in as many days on the PHNX Sun Devils show with Ralph Amsden here, guys. Yesterday, I had to apologize for trusting the AI summary of a Google search while live on a show and just saying something that's wrong. Again, hand up. And then yesterday, Wednesday, it's our snake draft day. But my week is all wonky. I thought yesterday was Tuesday. So I'm like, we'll do a snake draft today because today was supposed to be Wednesday. Guess what? It's not. So we are doing a snake draft today. Ralph, I threw two topics at you given by our diehard in the Discord, Sharon. And the one that you gravitated towards was cartoon characters that you would want on your football team. And we have to kind of lay out some ground rules here. I don't believe that you should be able to draft a cartoon character that is a superhero or with superpowers.
Okay, so here's my issue with that. Some of these cartoon characters have essentially superpower, and then some superpower or some hero cartoon characters don't have any powers at all.
That is fair.
Where are we drawing the line?
Where's the line?
Yeah, so like one of my picks is considered in the hero world, has no traditional, like no supernatural powers. But then, you got a guy like Speedy Gonzalez.
Right.
Is that supernatural speed, Roadrunner, stuff like that? Like, what are we doing here? So where's the line? I just need to know where the line is, and I'll be fine.
You know what? That's This might be...
No superheroes with superpowers I could live with.
Okay, no superheroes with superpowers, because that's the thing with cartoons. Some things are inflated, right? And some of the people you want for maybe their abilities as well. I know a couple of mine, maybe if you really break it down and get nitty-gritty with it, I would say some of them have some heightened abilities. But I think that we can go with no superheroes with superpowers. So no like Iron Man, because that's a completely different draft, right? That's a completely different superheroes with superpowers. Like, I'll take Black Panther. Of course you'll take Black Panther. Of course it's going to be better than half of the other picks that you have. So let's try to keep it to animals good. Like, Looney Tunes, fine. Like, those aren't supernatural beings, if you get what I'm saying. But I think we can play with the rules a little bit to where if they have some sort of power, but not superpowers. Like, okay, this is a controversial one, and maybe this would be my number one pick, and I want to see where we land on this. This can maybe be like the line. Have you ever watched Adventure Time?
Yes.
Jake the dog.
I think that counts.
Okay. Okay. I might have just given away a pick here because you can choose. It is a snake draft. So if you draft first, you get the first pick. But if you go second, you get 2 in a row. You get to choose the order since you are the guest. And I might have just given you the number 1 overall pick. So,
but here's the deal. You do kind of have to draft for the audience, right? How many Adventure Time watchers
it's
do
fair.
you have
That's
on
fair.
this screen? You know,
I get it. I get it. I think there's a lot going on here, and I'm interested to see maybe who you're taking or if we're going to live in the same world. So, Ralph, you get to choose first pick or second pick. Which one would you like in our snake draft?
Oh man, I'm going to take first pick, and I'm going to pander so hard, and you might protest this.
Okay. All right. We're gonna play the sounder officially in our snake draft of cartoon characters to build a football team with. Ralph, you're on the clock.
Sparky.
Interesting. I wouldn't have gone there, but sure. You can. That's technically right. I guess that's technically right.
Made by a Disney cartoonist. We went away from it because it was too much of a cartoon. That's all I need.
You know what? I respect it. I respect it. I wouldn't have gone that way because I have integrity and I don't pander. But I respect it. I respect it for sure. Okay, Sparky off the board, 1-1. Yeah, you're probably gonna kick my ass. All right, now I'm gonna go with Jake the dog. Okay, I understand that some people might not understand. I think I'm gonna have some name recognition in the later rounds. I need somebody who he's gonna go up, he's gonna grab the ball, he's gonna be anything, right? And by the way, what's Sparky playing for you? You got to give me like a position here.
Sparky is like Champ Bailey style defensive back.
Okay,
that's where we got ourselves we got ourselves our version of of Sean Taylor.
Okay,
there.
Dang, and everybody in the chat saying auto win. Come on, man. Come on.
We can restart.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You outclassed me. You did it, man. Like listen, it is what it is. I'm not gonna be like that. I'm not gonna be like that at all. All right. I got Jake the dog I'm going to put him out as my wide receiver. He's going to be able to catch anything. He's going to be able to elevate. And I need somebody to get him the ball. I need somebody with a great arm, somebody who is strong, somebody who's tough as nails, and somebody who can almost do the impossible with just a little bit of spinach in his system. Give me Popeye as my quarterback. I'm throwing 100-yard dots, and Sparky ain't getting high enough to get to where Jake the dog is getting as my wide receiver. So Popeye and Jake the dog are my QB wide receiver combo. I see the fear in your eyes as you're back on the clock with 2 picks, Ralph.
Yeah. And that's a tough one because in this day and age where you have kids in college for 7-8 years, you could probably get away with him looking like a 45-year-old man.
True.
Plus,
that's true.
He's an ally. He always looking out for olive oil. I like the pick. I got to go running back, and I know it's not wise to go running back early in the draft, but I don't see anybody being able to tackle this guy. Let's go with the Tasmanian
Dang
Devil.
It! No,
with my second pick.
No, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was gonna be my next pick. Absolutely, for sure, gonna be my next pick. That's a good choice. I'm gonna be honest with you though. I was gonna put Taz at edge.
Okay. I have, if my next pick is up, I actually have my pass rusher. I think he can play inside. I think he can play outside. I alluded to this pick before we started the draft as somebody who exists in the superhero world with no superpowers, looks great in pads, and this is somebody who doesn't just take on double teams, but is used to taking on quadruple teams. I'm going to have Shredder on my defensive line.
Interesting. Okay. I like it. Okay. I need to protect my quarterback. And I need a big, beefy offensive lineman. Give me Yogi Bear. Give me Yogi Bear at offensive line, baby. Listen, you're going to try to get the food. He ain't giving you nothing from that picnic basket, okay? You are trying to get around the edge. He's going to sit down and lay on you, okay? You got to give me Yogi Bear at offensive line.
Yeah, but can he play outside Jellystone?
Ooh,
can he play on the road? We don't know.
I think so. I think so. I think he can. I think he's a multifaceted player. I think he really can do anything if he puts his mind to it, for sure. Okay. Now I need a feisty defender. I need somebody who could maybe tackle the Tasmanian Devil.
Okay.
At safety, I'm going to go a little smaller, but I'm going to go, he's just got that dog in him, despite not really being a dog. Give me Stitch. From Lilo and Stitch, give me Stitch at safety. Just absolutely manning the middle. He's got the athletic prowess to be able to jump up high, maybe get through a defensive line with some big players. I think he could tackle the Tasmanian Devil.
Okay. So because of that, we're going to need somebody who high IQ player under center. And somebody who really has is multi-dimensional in their talents. So give me Rick Sanchez at quarterback.
Oh, Rick at quarterback. Interesting. Okay. I like it. And I believe you have one more final pick.
Okay. Man, so this is tough because you do want some offensive line help. Unfortunately, I think Peter Griffin's past his prime. I think the same of Homer Simpson.
Yeah. I'd avoid them. I have some other thoughts for offensive line, but I'm not going to share them yet.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have somebody who I think might have the ability as a cartoon character to help me with some of my offensive line issues, might even be able to multiply himself, can definitely grant me some wishes. Let's go with Robin Williams, Genie from Aladdin.
There we go. All right. I like it. So give me your team right now, Ralph. Give me your team and your positions.
Okay, so I think I have Sparky at DB. Apologies for that one. I snuck that one in on you.
It's all good.
I believe I have the Tasmanian Devil at running back, Rick Sanchez at quarterback, Shredder on the D-line, and Genie from Aladdin playing some offensive line for me.
And then, okay, Genie from Aladdin playing offensive line. That's a good team. Okay, so far right now, I've got Popeye as my quarterback. I've got Jake the dog as my wide receiver. I'm writing this down so we can make a graphic about this, which I think is just hilarious. I've got Yogi Bear as my offensive lineman. And then I have Stitch from Lilo and Stitch as my safety. So I'm looking for one more player now. Your defense is very solid. And I have one good offensive lineman right now. And I've got a good quarterback wide receiver combo. So I think I either need to go running back or I need to maybe beef up on that offensive line and just protect Popeye and let him get the ball to Jake the dog. So I'm going to tell you who I'm considering. I'm considering Shrek. I'm considering Johnny Bravo possibly on defense because the dude is just absolutely yoked. I think, and honestly, Patrick Starr as an offensive lineman as well. Okay. So, I might need a running back though. I might need a fast, speedy running back here. I don't know why I'm thinking so hard about this, but I really am. Tasmanian Devil was such a good pick, especially at running back. Can I take Lightning McQueen at running back?
I mean,
he's a
cartoon. Is that a cartoon?
It's an animation.
Pixar, yeah, I don't know. Me and my kids fight about this all the time. Lightning McQueen at running back.
I'm not going to do it.
You might end up murdering Sparky. You want that on your conscience?
Oh man, I think you got me there. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go on the defensive line. Give me my edge rusher. I want Shrek. I want Shrek on the edge. Okay. I want somebody who's down, mean, and nasty. Right. He could pick people up. He could throw people around. Give me Shrek as my edge rusher there. All right.
Shrek versus Genie is going to be matchup of the century for sure.
I think so. And I do think that Sparky versus Jake the dog is going to go nuts as well. So listen, guys, we're going to put out a graphic on that. That is going to do it for this edition of the PHNX Sun Devils show. We want to thank Ralph Amsden for just being an absolute just a killer, just an absolute killer, man. He's doing this through hurricanes. He's doing this on short notice, and he's doing it well informed. Ralph, I want to give you the floor. I want you to promo, like you mentioned, the show that you do with George Reister. I want you to promo yourself. Where can they find you? I know that you weren't able to do a Sun Devil Spaces last night. I don't know if you have any plans to do one or if your internet's going to hold up, but I want to give you the floor for a second.
Yeah, we made it about an hour last night. Unfortunately, the little tropical storm cut us off. But man, if I'm going to plug anything, it's going to be PHNX. I've told Totri this in private conversations repeatedly. Arizona State has so much awesome coverage. My friend Jordan Ham, who never talk about himself, but he's just incredible at what he does. And I've had the good fortune to follow what Brad Denny and Joe Healy have done for such a long time. And then of course, you have the pay sites and they're very, very loyal subscribers. But the truth of the matter is there just hasn't been anything for the generation coming up. Nothing fun, nothing that really captures the spirit of being an Arizona State Sun Devil, quite in the way that PHNX does. And I root for you guys, and it's always humbling to be able to be included. So if I'm going to say anything, I'm going to say Arizona State fans, I know you're pulled in every direction. Support NIL, subscribe to Devil's Digest, subscribe to Sun Devil Source, help this, help that. PHNX is here for you. They're here for you every single day. And like I said, I just appreciate you having me. If you're going to support something, support this.
Oh, well, you're just that dude, Ralph. We appreciate you. I want to make sure that you guys do follow Ralph at Ralph Amsden on social media. Like he said, he's going to do the Sun Devil Spaces. He is an active voice in this community and somebody that you probably already know if you're here on this show right now. But if you don't, a very, very worthy follow and a very worthy person to make sure that you are keeping up with. If you want to follow the show, you could do that at PHNX_Sun Devils on all socials. You can follow myself at Erik Ruby. That's ERIKRUBY. I forgot to give him a shout out at the beginning of the show, and that is absolutely on me. But Kyle Cooper behind the Mac, I believe his @ is KCoop Sports, right, Kyle?
That's correct.
Off the top of the dome. Kyle's going to be coming up with me to Camp T on Saturday for the scrimmage because Kyle is just that freaking dude. So make sure that you follow Kyle on all socials as well. Guys, we're going to make sure to put this up on social so that you can vote on who had the better cartoon team. We take this very seriously. And we'll be back tomorrow for a Friday Fun Day edition of the PHNX Sun Devil Show. But until then, two things. Go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.